My name is Anna, and I'm here to talk about public diners.
I'm Pete Ritchie, I'm from Nourish Scotland. I'm here to talk about public diners.
My name is Mickey, and I'm here to talk about my experience with public diners in India.
I'm Max, and I'm here to talk about public diners.
I'm Jane Jones, and I'm here today to talk about public diners.
I'm Nicola, and I'm here to talk about public diners.
Public Diner is a state-supported restaurant that offers good quality, delicious meals at prices that pretty much anybody can afford.
It levels the playing field really around people being able to access a really good, tasty meal that's nutritious and just helps people in the community to come together at times when that's appropriate for them.
It's a place where people can go, anybody can go, anybody's welcome, and you get a good enough meal, healthy enough, sustainable enough for a fiver.
I see public diners as a way to bring nutritious food to students who can't always access them because of financial difficulties.
Public diners are and were communal dining spaces where everyone and anyone in a local community could access affordable, nutritious food.
During the Second World War, they had these places all over the UK. Churchill got them started. There was 1,500, 2,000 of them at that point. So they were a sort of recognisable feature of the landscape during the war and for about 15 years afterwards.
It was a way of keeping spirits high, keeping people well fueled, and it was open to families, pensioners, workers alike.
Whilst we're the most connected we've ever been, we're also the most isolated we've ever been. And, having a meeting on a laptop isn't the same as speaking to someone in person. And when you add in the cost barriers of a lot of food and the lack of third spaces, it becomes really hard outside of, home or school or work to actually just sit down and speak to people and see what's happening in your community. And I think offering public diners as an affordable place where people can come together over food, which is a tradition that dates back to the start of humanity, I think that's really, really important.
Food's the biggest driver of the differences in healthy life expectancy in Scotland, which is now 25 years between the richest and the poorest, 45 versus 70 years of healthy life. So if that's the biggest driver, we've got to think, how can we use food policy to reduce those inequalities?
They serve a space for communities to come together and for everyone to eat good food.
Public diners really help to address a number of issues for people, whether that's affordability, whether it's access to hot, tasty food, whether it's somewhere for families to be able to come and benefit from Wi-Fi and somewhere warm, or whether it's just somewhere for people to pop into on their way home because they have very, very busy lives. It's really just a chance for people from all walks of life to have something different that's not currently available to them.
Food is seen as something that everyone should have access to in India, especially with the financial difficulties that the majority of Indians face.
We are in some darker times actually, in cost of living crisis and health crisis and social isolation, and so I think there is a case to be made that something like this that was born out of darker times perhaps would still have its place in a more modern, darker time.
Because it allows the state to step up for food in a way that it steps up for other human rights, from education to healthcare to housing. We have quite a robust support from the state to ensure that we have equal access to these things that are kind of basics for life, but we have nothing like that in place for food, and we think it would be a really good idea if we did.
The more we looked into it, the more we found that in other countries around the world, they have the same sort of thing. State supported, cheap and cheerful, big places you can go in, usually canteen service, limited choice, and it's an everyday meal for everyday people.
The ones in Poland are called milk bars, and that's because they initially started as serving dairy products and then expanded across a range of dishes. So they're kind of culturally important and really valued, and they appear on kind of iconic Polish movies, etc. So they're really much more than places where you go and eat. They're part of kind of national identity. And until we started doing this work, I didn't even know they were state subsidized. That's how blended into the landscape they are. But it's a really interesting subsidy model in Poland because the national government subsidizes certain types of ingredients. They subsidize fruit and veg, pulses, cereals and dairy, which means that influences what is put on the menu. It's kind of dishes that are majority created with those ingredients. There is some meat on the menu, but that's not subsidized. It's quite an interesting model.
Public diners were a very normal thing back home in India. They were sort of everywhere, and if I did not want to maybe spend too much money on food, or if I was running late for maybe a class or something, I could always just pop into one of these diners and get affordable meals. And they were very nutritious as well. Food is seen as something that everyone should have access to in India, especially with the financial difficulties that the majority of Indians face. It sort of allows people to move from villages to more wealthier areas and not have to worry about finding nutritionally adequate and affordable food in the city, and so that allows more people to join the working force. It allows more people to go to university, go to college without having to worry about food. So I think it was mainly to bring affordable food to everyone.
They're also, interestingly, now popping up in Turkey and Indonesia, and kind of being explored in other places, including the Netherlands, because people see primarily the public health angle and importance of them, but also the cost of living and making sure that people can have access to good food regardless of what the economic circumstances are in.
We don't really know how it'll pan out in Scotland. We think local councils have to be involved in looking after the public diners. They're part of that sort of public provision, like parks, like buses, like libraries. But as with the buses, sometimes you could get a private sector operator that runs them. We're not sort of completely set on it has to be this model or that model. What we want to make sure is that anybody can come to them. They're seen as for everybody. If people are really, really hard up, there might be a way to help them, like with school dinners, get something for less or for free. But they don't feel like a place where you have to be skint to go. They just feel like an everyday place to go. So keeping that principle at the heart of it is the most important thing. And exactly how the operating model will work, we don't know. That's why we're trying it out.
In Dundee, we've gotten the funding to run a 3-year pilot. Year 1 is going to be co-designing with local communities, seeing what people want and what local people want specifically, rather than looking at it on a national level. Year 2 will be running the diner, and Year 3 will be evaluating what we've learned and what we can generalise to other places. And so part of the work I'm doing currently is trying to recruit people for co-design sessions, for stakeholder events, really just anyone who is in the community who can provide that community input and that human aspect as to what they want to see in a local diner.
I'm very optimistic about them becoming part of landscape in Scotland really quite soon. I think it's a no-brainer idea and really popular with the public too, from the work, not just the consultation work we've done, kind of one-to-one speaking to people in workshops and pop-up suppers and in communities. We get really positive reception, but also public polling indicates that there's a widespread support for this as an idea and that people also see it as a good use of public money. And I think politicians can also see the value of it, especially with the concerns around public health and the impact that our current diets have on health outcomes in Scotland.
I think it's really encouraging to see that we have a commitment to becoming a good food nation in Scotland, that we can all take pride in what we eat, cook, grow and serve across the nation. And for me, public policy around food has been pretty fractured and siloed for many years. So you have policy around school food sits in one silo, you've got policies around obesity strategies sitting elsewhere, you've got public health issues around health inequalities sitting somewhere else. Having the ambition to become a good food nation draws all of those policy levers that currently exist together under one umbrella and allows us to focus on how we can be more cohesive and take a systems approach to improving our food culture, our diets, and our inclusion around social interactions with food.
People don't typically buy into slogans or manifestos or campaigns. They buy into feelings and emotions, and if we make them feel a certain way by using the public diners, they're more likely to return.
Diet is one of the leading causes of preventable illness in this country, so we have to do something about that. And public diners are a cheap solution to what is currently a very expensive problem.
For me, ideally in 10 years' time, we've got these all over Scotland. You know, it's going to be difficult to do them in the most remote rural areas just because you don't have the footfall. So we have to figure out how you do that. Is it a bus? Is it, once a week? How do we do that in rural Scotland? But in the towns and cities of Scotland, these are just part of the landscape. People don't go to them every day, they go to them from time to time. If they want to go out for a blowout meal, they go to a fancy restaurant, they don't go to a public diner, but they're just part of the landscape and people know where they are. They're just part of what people do on an everyday basis. Will it change everything? No, it won't. It won't make us instantly sort of well and healthy and live to a ripe old age, but it says this is how we do good food in Scotland, and it's part of the wider movement to try and make it easy for all of us to eat slightly better than we do now.